first in the call. Let's go to you. Give us a quick introduction.
Sure. I'm Emily Gordon. I'm the Senior Vice President at Randall Reilly for the partner side of the business, which is recruitment of all things. So agency hiring, RPO, and flexible, kind of anything in between.
Great. James?
Hi, James Cleaver. Also with Randall Reilly, work with Emily as VP of Operations. And like Emily said, we do just about everything you can imagine in the recruiting space right now.
What's operations? What does that mean in Randall Reilly?
I'm finding ways for us to be more efficient, to be more effective, and to make sure that whatever Emily's vision is for the organization gets executed.
Wonderful. Okay, let's talk about recruiter enablement specifically. I guess this straddles a number of different areas, operations definitely being one of them, but like just what is it to your organization? I hope you agree on what it is, but if you don't agree on what it is, then that'd be even more fun.
We're about to find out.
What's recruiter enablement to the two of you?
I was talking with James about this topic, obviously, before we came on. And one of the things I was laughing about is the fact that I started off with a fax machine and a box of cards, right, when I started recruiting. So in 1998 in Los Angeles, recruiting technical people. And, it was dial 411 for information, get 3 numbers at a time, get 100 phone calls. You had this box. And then you had, you got in there early, hoping you could get the faxed resumes from the advertisement first. So if you think from there to now, how far we've come. Of course, there's always little things and levers that are being pulled from an enablement perspective. And, I think we went from that to computers, from computers to ATSs and tracking systems. Then we got more data. And there's always a lot to consider in this space when you think about AI and how we might be able to use it. I think it really is a big depends, right? Well, who is using it? How might they benefit from it? And we have people that have been recruiting for much longer than we have. And then we have people who have never recruited until they started working with us. And so everything from, I just was on a call before this where somebody's like, I just need a glossary of terms for X, whatever the role was. And I was like, here you go. And I sent it to him. I said, start with this. And, it was, and reminding people they have access to AI and that they can use it in a safe way at a very basic level, all the way through to, like James will talk about more, some ways that we can be more efficient. What are some things that we can do from an efficiency perspective to try to drive our people to have better outcomes faster?
Yeah, I mean, I think that AI is an incredibly important aspect of the future for recruiter enablement. James, it'd be great to hear from you. Is it something that you're looking at, and what's your general sort of answer to the issue around what is it for you?
Yeah, I feel like this is confession. So I will fully admit, right, I've been in TA for far too long, over 20 years. I was a recruiter, I've been a sourcer, and I was a lazy recruiter. Apologies to all my former leaders. I always wanted to find the fastest way. I liked working with candidates. I hated dealing with the system. I hated the administrative work and the things that took me away from being on the phone or dealing with candidates or hiring managers. And so when I think about it now, we don't hire recruiters to be great at taking notes. We don't hire recruiters to be great at dealing with Excel. I don't want a sourcer who is really, really good at the proverbial shuffling paper. So anything, and there's been a lot of tools out there in the past that have tried to simplify the recruiter's job and put them where they're supposed to be, but I don't believe that anyone has really cracked that yet. Obviously with AI, I think we're finally going to get there. That's sort of, kind of a bold prediction, but really a lot of those tasks can go away. And you focus recruiters on what you really want them to do. And so that's, Emily spearheaded a project for us internally to look at AI tools and how we can implement it in the business with the specific goal of alleviating the burden of work on the recruiter so that they can truly just focus on what they should be doing and what they're best at. So for us, I think that's the biggest focus. And it's kind of, hey, I've been waiting a long time for this to come along and make my job easier. So giddy up, let's go.
What do we, what are the, James, you said something about so that recruiters have more time to focus on what we want them to be doing. How do we distinguish between what we want them to be doing and what we don't want them to be doing?
Well, so that's a good question. I had a recruiter and a sourcer ask me that once in a town hall. They were like, hey, we're going to be replaced by AI. And this was 6 years ago. So this wasn't even at the time, it's like, no, you're really not. But it's a nice thought, right? This is the advent of all the AI tools to do sourcing. And so my answer was really off the cuff, but I've kind of stuck with it, which is I want the tool to enable and augment your best ability. So what does a human do better than anyone else? Well, conversations, relationships, the putting disparate points of information together to create either a compelling story for the candidate, a compelling story for the hiring manager. They really are the human element of recruiting. The system should take care of all the other things for us. That's the ultimate goal. So I really want recruiters to focus on the pieces that a system is not going to replace, right? That relationship building, pulling, so even research, right? AI does a lot of research and sourcing. A lot of AI tools will do research and sourcing, but it really does take a human to think about different companies, different pieces of experience to pull a person together and really create a really good profile for a candidate that I don't think a system can do.
Emily, you've been doing a number of different projects in this area, and of course, with the work that James is doing in this area as well. I'm interested to know if the teams that you manage have changed shape in any way over the last couple of years, and if not, if you're envisaging that they may well do so, and how that might happen.
Yeah, so I would say not yet. I think for me, it's still figuring out who on my current teams adopts the technology and actually runs towards it and finding ways that they want to use it. There's a lot of things that we could do prescriptively, but really the most innovation is going to come from the people every day who are coming through with the aha moment saying, this is how I used it. This saved me this much time, or sharing and kind of, just evangelizing it within the organization. And so I think that's going to take some more time for us. I do think one of the things we look towards is speed to proficiency in certain knowledge areas, how fast we can now get somebody where they need to be in real time or near time versus before I had to put the old man's head on a young man's shoulders. How long does that take? And now it's like, hey, it's right here for you. So I think we're going to see that be the first part of it. And then I think the next part of it is just simplifying the amount of time it takes to brainstorm things, get them narrowed down, and then be able to act quickly and test and kind of either fail fast or win big quickly. I think those are the two areas I see us using it.
So I stood on stage at a Talent Sourcers event in 2017, and I was asked a question about what's the future for talent sourcing. I said, well, I think every single one of you, there was 300 people there. I said, I think every single one of you is probably going to have to retrain because you've got the skills for if you've got the skills for going and looking under all the rocks and finding people fast, then you've probably got the skills for things like nurture marketing and data analytics and managing technology and that type of thing. Do we think that the tasks that recruiters are going to be doing are going to be more sort of analytical and marketing focused? And what do you think about that, Emily?
I think it depends on the size of the organization and how lucky you are to have whatever teams you need. Could you certainly reduce your teams down because there's more information available quickly? Yes. Can you, programatize the outreach and use AI for that? Even videos and things like that. Of course, thought leadership. Absolutely. You're seeing it come out at a rapid pace, much, much faster than it was 2 years ago, even. And so that's true. I think the difference is you still have to find people who care about the outcomes of those things that are not just generating things on a machine and spitting it out because that's the recipe card they were given. I was saying to James, the best SOPs are the ones that are a little messy. And, they've got the spaghetti sauce on the recipe means it was a good one, right? You have it out, you're using it a lot. And so it's a general guideline and I don't think a rule for all. So I think, again, you'll have to have a mix and it will depend on the size of your organization. What I do think it enables people to do is to be creative with those relationship building opportunities and how do they stand out in an AI world and still humanize the process. I think that's going to be the biggest game changer for everybody is to make sure that they maintain that and they accelerate where they can based on the time they're being given back.
James, what have been the big wins for you over the last couple of years? What's been like the one or two things that you've gone, I'm so glad I did that?
Well, besides surviving the pandemic and the craziest recruiting market in 2021, yeah, that's everyone's answer. I think the biggest things that we've looked at is, so the market going from, what we thought was crazy busy to the bottom fell out to it was wild. It's made us really hone in on what's important. How do we make ourselves more efficient? Because we at one point we were doing more with less because you just couldn't hire recruiters or sourcers at all. And now we're looking at it, we've got that market pause of, okay, how do we grow thoughtfully, think carefully about how we add? And so probably a couple of the biggest wins over the last few years and lessons learned are I don't want to say how you do more with less because that's not accurate, but we look at the recruiters and I think, how do I get things out of your way? Same thing with sourcers. How do I enable you to be better at what you do? And it's not about working harder. It's not about more hours. It's not about adding another recruiter for every 20 recs. It's how do we efficiently start doing things better so that you enjoy your job, you're not overworked and feel undervalued, but also the candidates see that, feel that. We're talking to more candidates, we're building more relationships, and we're just doing our jobs more efficiently, which should translate as better, not just a production system, but actually, building strong relationships, developing great candidates, developing great hiring manager relationships overall. I think that's probably the biggest win we've had is we've really pared down what we do. And Emily and I talk about this often. Do we really need to do this? Is there a better way to do it? Great, get rid of it, right? No, there's no room for waste anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. So when, like, it's rare, Emily, it's rare that I meet somebody who's been in recruitment longer than I have. I started in 1999, so you beat me by a year.
Just a little bit.
But certainly the recruiter traditionally, what a recruiter does is they work out their own great way of doing things and they keep it to themselves. And then at the end of the month, they've got great numbers, and because they've got the best Boolean strings and they've got the best search, methods, and they've got the best outreach messaging and whatever it is. James, how do we get recruiters to collaborate better? Because I'm guessing that that's been part of what you've been doing over the last few years.
Yeah, it's funny. It is true, right? Everybody, you take a recruiter and you hire them because they have either great productivity or great skills in their past, like any other job. But then you put them in and you let them sort of work within your system, but do whatever they need to. And so a lot of and this is tough for recruiters, I think a lot of it has become systemization. When I look at some of the most compelling systems that have been built over the last 4 or 5 years, they are all about augmenting recruiters, but also systematizing what they do in a much more cohesive way. So I think there's less general creativity and a lot more pattern behavior. That's been a tough transition, I think, for recruiters, but it has leveled the playing field. When you give everyone the ability to be augmented and be successful with the right tools and the right information at their fingertips easily. And I think Emily said it before, you propel them forward, to be more successful as an entire team. We see a lot more collaboration now than we did. That's probably a big thing that Emily has implemented with our team too, is there's a lot of collaboration, a lot of candidate sharing, a lot of knowledge sharing. Like it's constant, whether it's a Teams channel, a call, a very long email message, like it's just constantly sharing. So they think that way because our success depends on all of us, not each individual person being successful.
Emily, I imagine that you are, in fact, you probably both are, but Emily, I'm sure you are involved in sales pitches and things like that. And I'm guessing that potential customers are sort of digging into this type of stuff with your organization now. Has there been are they doing it more than they used to? Is there trends in this?
I think they just want to know what tools we're going to bring to the table and how we're going to support them. And AI is certainly a topic they use. I think depending again on the company we're partnering with and their culture and what they want us to represent, sometimes they're hesitant and sometimes they're like, bring us all the way to the edge of whatever weird is in your book and let's try it. So again, I think it's about that. I do think that sometimes people have a confidence in AI that doesn't give them the years of experience. I still think that there's a part of that. So they might come to the table with, hey, I looked this up and here's everything it says. Why can't we just do this? If you have somebody who's maybe not a fully bought in stakeholder. And it's just about talking through those things and saying, let's take a look at it and let's see, or let's A/B test it with you so you can try it. But I think it's taking them along the journey. And again, a lot of what we focus on is becoming the best version of our customers as we represent them, as they'll allow us to, and then pushing, as we grow with them.
Emily, I recognized your description of what recruitment was back in 1998 because it was the same in 1999 when I started. There was very little, let's call it marketing involved.
Yeah.
In fact, there was very little typing or even writing involved. And I remember writing a 2-sentence or 3-sentence advert on a piece of paper and putting it into the fax machine to send to the local newspaper to get my lineage advert into the paper.
Friday by 3 o'clock, you had to have it out, so it would make the weekend Yeah.
That's it. That's it. That was probably the extent to the marketing I did, and it was the thing that I loved most, which is why I ended up moving into recruitment marketing. But um, I believe that today, I mean, the writing that people do in their job is maybe 70, depending on the kind of market that they're in, but it could be as much as 75% of what they're doing versus talking. And back then it was like 99% talking. So,
Mhm.
is how do we consider marketing skills and marketing scripts and templates for things and whatever as part of this? Is it the same area?
Yes, and also the tone, right? So much gets lost in an email, or the tone may not be right. So I actually posted something today just asking the team, quick question, how are you using it? And 3 or 4 people immediately said, I mostly do tone check to make sure what I'm saying is the way I want it to represent if I wasn't reading it. And that's, I think we went from all phone to no phone, and now somewhere in the middle is the right answer. So that tone and the way we're communicating is so important. So I think that saves recruiters a lot. Again, we didn't hire them because they're great writers. We hired them in most part for their energy and relationship building and things like that. So I think that's one of the ways we're doing it. Certainly for SOPs and templates, or even just kind of narrowing down. Maybe if we have 3 or 4 different ways we've done it, throwing it in there and kind of saying, okay, boil this down to the big rock, so then we can rebuild it and clean it up. I think those are some other ways we're doing it too, to make it simple for people.
Hmm. Okay. Final question, slightly broader subject, which is like, what are the trends? You work in a number of different industries and things like that. What are the trends in terms of who's hiring, who's not hiring, what industries are doing well, what types of jobs are in high demand, all that kind of thing. Just like general market overview would be useful.
Yeah, so we are mainly in the transportation and logistics space, and what we're doing now. Not to say that our networks we don't talk and we don't hear about what's going on, but for sure
Yeah.
we're seeing a begin to uptick. We're seeing it in the digital advertising space and in some of the openings and hiring that we're doing. So we're just starting to see some of that relief and stuff come back into our space, which is usually a leading indicator for the rest of how the industries are going to go here, at least in North America. So that is one of the things that we're seeing. I don't know, James, from a tech perspective, you've been talking about some things. Anything you're seeing?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few people that are saying the tech space is slowly starting to come back again, which some people consider that a bellwether for the rest of the market.
Yeah.
My experience is if tech goes down, they're the canary in the coal mine. When tech hiring goes down,
Yeah.
everybody else is still booming. They follow. So,
Yeah.
I think we're coming. It's been the best description is it's been kind of a slow slide into the ditch, and it's a slow climb back out again. Not too bad in, not too bad out, but we're starting to see people cautiously come back into the market to hire more. What we're not hearing are long-term projects,
Yeah.
big, there's not a lot of future planning. And I don't say that as a bad thing. I just think people are thinking a quarter or two ahead. COVID has really, kind of globally made us all kind of go, well, 2-year plans, who knows?
Fiction.
So let's do 2 quarters and see what happens. And so we hear a lot of that, which frustrating for the recruiting market, definitely
Yeah.
frustrating for candidates that are out there. But
Yeah.
I think 2024, knock on wood, will be a more prosperous year than 2023 has been for sure.
Yeah, from what we were saying, it's around Q2. From the analyst
Yeah.
stuff that we're reading, is somewhere in Q2 we should really start to see that spring back.
Okay. Are you hiring? Are you planning to hire if you're not hiring today?
We will be. So to meet our goals for next year, we did a yearly plan. So even though we hope it's right, we weren't 2 quarters ahead, we're actually doing it. So we do have some roles in there. And obviously for us, because we work in really 3 segments, it depends on which one hits. If we get a larger scale full support role where we're hiring maybe over 1,000 hires a year for somebody, certainly we're going to be hiring for those. In the interim, it kind of just depends on what work comes our way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. Emily, James, it was really great to see you today. Thank you very much for your time. I've learned a lot. It's been very insightful, and I'm sure everybody else has. So looking forward to seeing you again sometime.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Adam.